Kate, Steve Jobs is a phenomenal film.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it? I love it.
It's crazy because
I think I must be like the best advertising person for this film, because every time I do an interview, I just say, it's a really great film.
That's what we all want to hear, and it is. And this man he has an influence in most people's life. I mean, iPhone, iPad, I've come into this interview with the very things that he's responsible for. But for you, in the role that you played as Joanna, you must have managed to get an insight and empathise with him in a way that maybe the rest of us wouldn't maybe understand. Did you find that?
I did find that, and one of the things that I really loved about playing the role of Joanna Hoffman is that I did actually have the real Joanna to spend a lot of time with, and I could see very quickly that what Aaron Sorkin had done with the script and had done with their relationship was that he had really created something that was extremely real in terms of their friendship, in terms of their interaction with each other as colleagues. They had great respect for one another. They sort of fought like brother and sister would fight. She didn't put up with any of his CRAP in ways that a lot of people did, and when I spent time with Joanna, I did say to her, why weren't you intimidated by him? And she just honestly laughed her head off. She was like, he was like a frat boy. He was like, I was like, who is this Steve Jobs? Who cares? She just literally, she wasn't interested in who he was, how scary he was supposed to be. She really admired him, actually, and had a huge amount of respect for him, but also commitment to her job. She was hired as the head of marketing for the Macintosh originally as part of the first team, and that was how it began between the two of them, really. And she was very generous with her stories that she had to share about Steve, and actually even the stories that she told where she had been furious, and she would say, I wanted to beat him with my fists, and he'd done something like change the projections, which was her job, and he would just go and change them all, and it would drive her absolutely crazy. Even then, she would tell these stories with a laugh and a smile, and she remembers her time with him as a colleague with great affection and remained friends with him until he passed away, so misses him very much. And I think you're right, it does. I think we do get to see another side of Steve that is accessed through the role that I play of Joanna.
He came across as a man who didn't care whether people liked him or not, though. And I found very much being in this industry, or if you're in the spotlight, for me, being liked, it does affect me. Does it affect you whether people like you or not? Does it have an effect on you? Do you care?
Well, I think, you can never be responsible for other people's opinions, and you also have to accept this. If you're in the public eye, people are going to have opinions, and they're often going to be, opinions that you don't like. You often might get judged unfairly. So you just have to learn, I think, to become sort of immune to it, really. But one thing I do find difficult is being unfairly judged. So if I ever hear that someone has said something about me that is actually wrong, that really puts my back up.
And what is your relationship with technology like?
Terrible. I'm honestly really dreadful. Thank God that my device isn't in this room, because I'd either forget that it was there or I'd break it or something. No, I'm useless. So I do have an iPhone, which, that's Steve Jobs' fault. I was perfectly happy with my BlackBerry until I suddenly realized that actually Steve was making it impossible for me to function without an Apple product, which is completely true. But yeah, I'm rubbish. I kind of, I touch the screen and something that I didn't want to happen happens, and then I have to give it to somebody else to fix it for me. Yeah, I'm really, and my kids call it a mum moment. They're like, oh, are you having a mum moment? Give it to me.
Well, we're all the same. Hey, I can't live without Apple products these days.
Yeah.
Steve Jobs is a great film. Thank you so much for talking to me, Kate.